Guys, it's Naja with Tangled Roots Research here this week to talk to you about DNA testing. It's one of the questions that comes up a lot when we're helping our clients. So we're going to hit some of the main points. There's so much we could talk about. Check out our blog on the website. It's got maybe a little bit more detail than I'm going to go into here. So first, two of the major types of tests we see on the market available to the public are autosomal tests and Y-DNA or mtDNA tests. So before we get really confusing, let's talk about some brands that you may be familiar with. The most common autosomal tests are going to be the Ancestry DNA or the 23andMe, and also MyHeritage. So some of the differences between those, if you're looking to connect with a broad range of relatives, I personally would recommend Ancestry because their database has so many more people that have tested there. The likelihood of you finding a lot of relatives is really high. It's not uncommon to find over 10,000 matches. That can be really overwhelming, so just be prepared for that. 23andMe also has a substantial database, but in my experience, not quite as high as with Ancestry. But they do both allow you to see who your DNA matches and find connections and be able to communicate with those people, as does MyHeritage. One thing that also makes them a bit different, Ancestry and 23andMe will allow you to download your raw DNA data, but you cannot upload your data from another site. But you can take your 23andMe or Ancestry results and take those over to MyHeritage and compare yourself to other people there. So you get the benefit of two platforms, which is a really great option. But if you want to see both 23andMe and Ancestry, you will have to test with both platforms and pay for those tests because the results for one do not translate to the other. So you may have relatives on the other site that won't know that you've tested. They won't be able to see you as a match. So do keep that in mind when you're doing this testing. Also, both of them, Ancestry and 23andMe, specifically offer health packages as well. It's an upgraded package that tells you more than just your ethnicity profile. It gives you some insight into some different specific health conditions that you may have or may be prone to have. And then it also has some anecdotal kinds of things like, hair color and hair texture and taste aversions and just a variety of things that you may find interesting. So that is available through both platforms as well, Ancestry and 23andMe. Another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at these is that the results may vary. So I personally have tested with Ancestry and 23andMe. My results are also on MyHeritage, and my ethnicity profile is a bit different. So what you should expect from either one of these companies is a list of countries that your DNA matches. And that's going to vary from company to company depending on their database. So if you have relatives that are from Lithuania, if you don't have anyone in their system that is from that country, it may not show up that you are related to, that you have origins in that country because they don't have a baseline to compare you with. So it would be important to know that your results do change over time. So it's not uncommon for them to send an update and tell you, hey, your results have changed. Your DNA did not change, but their database has expanded and they're better able to pinpoint and tell you where your ancestors were from. It gives you a broad picture. A lot of people have a very vast collection of countries that they're a part of. And then there are also a lot of people who only have connections with one or two regions of the world. So it really varies from person to person, and it's so interesting to see all of the different origins and people that came together to make you who you are. If you want to connect more specifically, there are other tests on the market that do the Y-DNA and mtDNA that connects through your father's line or through the mother's line. So only the males pass down the Y-DNA, so that can only be taken by a male. But the mtDNA or mitochondrial DNA can be taken by anyone. And those tests trace your mother's line. One of the popular ones right now, especially for African Americans, is the AfricanAncestry.com test. And that one is very expensive. So that is also another difference. That test costs a lot more. The autosomal test like Ancestry and 23andMe typically cost around $100 unless there's a sale. But the one on African Ancestry is $300 for one test. But if you keep in mind that the DNA passed down from the mother's line is consistent for all descendants of that family, then the results are relative more than just to you. They're also relevant to a broad group of people. So you can actually get together and split that cost, which is what I did with my family. We pulled together. So instead of one person paying $300 for the test, you can have a group of 10 people each pay $30 and share in those results, which can be a really great bonding thing for the family to have that kind of record and be a part of finding out that detailed information. It's a really great experience. But also understand that if they do connect you with a tribe or a specific group of people, that is one of your lines. We have four grandparents, 8 great grandparents, 16 double great, 32 triple great, and so on and so on. And our ancestors just expand at every generation. So if you're taking a test like this, understand that that one line that they trace is one of many. It does not encompass all of who you are. So it's really awesome to be able to connect, but also understand that who you are may be a lot more than that one tribe that you connect back to. So do keep that in mind. It's also really important to read the information for each company that you are considering testing with as to what they do with your DNA. Some companies keep the DNA for different research purposes. Others will destroy your DNA. So if that's something that's important to you, and honestly it should be, you want to review that information before you take the test. So I hope that something I've said here has been really helpful to you. Next week, we are going to continue our chat about DNA. We're going to talk about what to do with all these cousins once you find them. What do these findings mean? So hopefully something said today is helpful to you. We'll see you next week. Keep searching. Take care.